का वचन ली होते दी जगह से होता था हाथिया नहीं गए चुके या थिया तू जी से निजी को नहीं होता जिंगून नीले दूने जिले निजी हानि हो न चीज़ वो तो हो ली होते ये लादा के जे कोई आमी का वो लिया ही होता हागुती होते से ता खुद दे होते कि हाँ इंश्योर ना है से था हाथिया नहीं गए या थी या के वंदा जिगा你干我那红我的呀，给你去过的那个是那去过这样等等，我大在他在这个你几个给大脑的我那红嘞，你那个大脑火还上那红嘞，我之前我咋我是我你娃那了这样等等，那大驸马我天那天那我那通，我天你只有我就是不打算的在。Zezi ne soni wote dilante. Te kai mai da monele wote te kutata ne te otie on tinte. On nai ka te dinde ta ve te da ne no tu. Wote ta le no da tie on tinte. Tena se ji je he ota te je sia ti. Ai wa ke tin hi ta ne ji. Ne ke che ya ke ji. Ta
Merci. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rylan Johnson. I'm the MLA for Yellowknife North, and I will be chairing this meeting today. The Standing Committee on Government Operations is currently on a tour for two of our priorities. One is a statutory review of the Official Languages Act. We've been hearing from members on the public on any work to make changes to the Act, to make changes to the role of the Languages Commissioner, and more generally, what the GNWT needs to be doing to respect and help revitalize all of our official languages. The other priority of this committee is increasing Indigenous representation in the public service. The GNWT has had an affirmative action policy in place for about 40 years. As many of you are probably familiar with the terms P1 and P2, yet despite that policy, the amount of Indigenous workforce in the GNWT has remained relatively consistent at 30% over the last 40 years. So there has not been a lot of progress on that, and we as committee are looking to hear from any members of the public on that. Fortunately, we didn't get quite the turnout we were hoping here today in Betrico. I know there's competing hand games happening in Deta, and it's payday and Friday, so sometimes we always we can't compete. But we had a great turnout last night in Fort Providence, and we had a great turnout the night before in Fort Smith. So. This is at all not the end of this process, so anyone, this is being live streamed, please feel free to reach out from committee at all. We do want to hear from the Clicho region. There is some important discussions we're having, about what the future of self-government looks like here, what the future of the GNWT looks like, how to increase both the use of the language and the number of Clicho people working for the GNWT in this area. So we are always open to hear those suggestions. This is a public hearing, so I will open the floor to any members of the public who are willing to speak. I would like to thank our interpreter, Harriet. She is a subject matter expert on languages, no doubt, so I will also ask her to speak if she wants. And if it's in Clicho, unfortunately, we're going to lose our interpreter, so maybe I can ask Jane to maybe give us a gist if that happens. But with that, I'll pass the mic over to my fellow committee members just so they can introduce themselves. This is being broadcast and for the record, beginning with our Deputy Chair, MLA Martselos.
So good afternoon. My name is Frida Martselos. I'm the MLA for Tabacha. I'm a strong advocate for change, especially with Indigenous hire, and to make sure that we keep our languages within the Northwest Territories equivalent to French and English. I'm very happy to be on Clicho land, the sacred land, and I'm happy that I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you, MLA Martellus. My name is Caitlin Cleveland. I am the MLA for Cam Lake, which is a riding in Yellowknife. Big thank you to MLA Whalen Armstrong for hosting us here today. I know that there are a lot of other things happening in the community today, but there's still an opportunity for people to send feedback into the committee, and we'd like to welcome any feedback that anybody has in regards to any of the items that we're discussing here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Hello, my name is Richard Jericho, and I'm the MLA for Trinidad Ability Riding. I'm also here to listen to the concerns on the Official Languages Act and increasing Indigenous representation in the public service. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Merci. We are also joined here today by our committee clerk, Cynthia, who keeps the Legislative Assembly running, our researcher, Nigel, who writes all of our reports and helps us get all the facts right, as well as our amazing technical staff who broadcast all of the assembly and help with interpretive services, Vince and Chris. So with that, I will open the floor to see if there's anyone who would like to address committee or speak. If you would, just put your hand up and Vince will hand you a microphone. Hearing no submissions from the public, I'll just take a moment and let Harriet catch up to interpretation and ask if she would like to make any submissions.
Masit goyati tsonkewut aguts adagata don't hike agede ageti gohi adeke aguts idesint agora not so that's in want it agoyati ra atsadi hodi druni nagede zone Northwest Territories that's a desin it a zone clinton yet in goyati edena kenad so hodi hanigo son ke hope onide e yits sin a good son e drone na wo good son e yits on a drone hunai dile soni hanuko go he drone clinton yet in lin go yad he sent a wodan hadi hodi et a hanit a clinton gi hunzunke nit like e de ke wala e yira edena kenat soni dets in wonga woke hayat eti masid so
Lord, I'm going to do it in my language there.
it doesn't yet when we say our language but today we say our language our yadhi goyadhi is we speak our language, we speak Chinchon because we feel very strong about our language. I speak my language. So today, so when we are a leader, so we help regardless of who they are, and that's why we are a leader. So when we have visitors or overseas, we hear that they speak their own way of speaking of their language, and so today with our children, they do not understand our way of speaking. That's why they're kind of very upsetting for them. So they get out of control with the law. So when they So when they sit with elders, elders speak, we know that they come across and say when they speak their own way, it's like they are laughing at them, but that's not the case. They are trying to help. So when I was in residential school, that's a very long time ago, and then you come home and you go with the elders on the land. It's like coming back and turning the pages of speaking your own language again, but otherwise it doesn't come back. So with knowledge, so a lot of you do a lot of research for yourself, so much work that you need to go forward. We have to search and find it. We cannot depend on anybody else to do anything, to be of who you want to be. So much to learn. I understand that you are there and you know what I'm talking about, having to understand the both ways. But you still have to keep going and be strong of who you are to go forward. And today, a lot of you have a lot of knowledge and experience of who you are and where you are today. And I myself, I work with the youth out on the land, and I also work with my father out on the land trapping for 16 years. And I also worked at the mine for 24 years. So now I retired. So in the fall, so for the orphans, I do help a lot of them in the fall time out on the land each fall. So I have worked with a lot of elders as well. So when we speak the language, I feel very strong about it, of teaching our youth about who we are. I'm not the only one that are hoping to have the good way of life. I'm trying to help. So when our youth were in trouble with the law, I helped them out on the land. So I know half of them had succeeded and doing well for themselves. So when you're young and willing, about 20 years old, they have like 80 years on them. So this is why, as we try our best to care for them, to love them, that they would go forward. So after they're about 50, 60, it's like I have to say it's difficult to teach them, because they have their own ways already of what they have done and what they want to do and what they're going to be. So at age 20, you'd help. This is the beginning of life for them. This is how we try to do our best of teaching our youth out on the land. But so sometimes we do ask for funding to be part of what we want to do. It's kind of very difficult to get some funds. So I have to say help, as well as everywhere in the world, it's just out of control with all the addiction. But today I have to say that when we take them out on the land, it's like an eye-opening for them, and so then they come out with a different attitude of returning back to school. So a lot of orphans, they've been sitting back, not doing anything for them. So this is why you as a government, and we have government as well, national government. So we tried our best. This is why I said we sat back a long time. It's not 1930s or 1940s, 1950s, 60s, 70s, and today we have a lot of widows. So we tried our best to also help the orphans too, because we have to go forward. And I saw that a lot of them sitting back, not doing anything. They need support. This is why I say we do need funding to be able to help all walks of life, that they would be able to do good for themselves. So, when we talk about funding that's there, that would be there forever. But the life that we are leading, so that we try to have successful with the youth of trying to commit crime, that would be a great work. And we also know that we have faith. That's very powerful too. So through that, we can do a lot of things for our people. And today, with all sorts of pandemic is out today, we see it. So this is why we say, let's help our youth in our home communities, our home regions. I have to say again that in the fall, I would be gone for 3 months to go trapping. So the ones that are out of control, those are the ones that I really reach out for. So this way that they would have their own ways of trying to come forward to do better for themselves, so that they would be able to know and understand the way of life and also speak the language. So it's so important that we try to reach out. I have to say, I sit with provincial government as an elder. This is all I like to say. So when we're retired, all day you would be sitting watching TV, but that's not the case. It's more work than retirement when you were working. Must see. This is all I'm going to say.
Merci, thank you very much.
Message. So.
Would anyone else like to provide any submissions to committee? Hearing none, I would just like to thank you for presenting today. We have certainly heard throughout the communities that, the connection to land and the connection to language is something we as committee have to honor, and we are hoping to do that. And we would like to thank you for all of your work with the youth and bringing them out on the land. That is very important work. With that, I will turn it to ask if any committee members have any closing remarks they would like to make. And that will conclude our public hearing today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Merci.